All right, so this week it is week 13 that we're going into, and we're going to talk about time and scheduling, launching programs, and we'll get into some web scraping as well this week. Um, in the outline, I also list chapter 18, which talks about sending emails and text messages. If you have time, get a head start on looking at this chapter. It is a lot more involved, and I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to have us do this without going into a ton of nitty-gritty stuff that we don't necessarily have the time to spend on explaining all the background of. Um, so if you have time, get a head start just looking at that chapter. But we won't actually get to doing that stuff in chapter 18 until next week, which is week 14. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. But this particular video is going to be about time. So I'm just going to introduce you. Well, we've actually already used the date time module in some of the past labs and in class activities, but we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about what is actually happening, um, and how you can customize the time and how it's represented. So we have a script here called timestamps.py, and I'm importing datetime, the datetime module. And all that I have here is a variable called now, and I'm calling the super convenient now function in the datetime module. And that is going to return a date time object, um, and store it in the now variable. So then when I go to print what is inside of my now variable here, we'll see the default format. So we'll on line 3, we assign this value to now, and it is just whatever the default format is that the dot now function gives us. We're not doing any special formatting, but on the line below, that first print statement is another print statement where we're actually formatting it using string f time. So I'm going to run this and we'll evaluate what we're looking at here. So if I run this and scooch this guy up so you can actually see. So the default format that was printed, we've got the year, followed by a dash, followed by the month, dash, the day, and then we've got the time as hour, minutes, seconds, and then this gives us up to microseconds. So there are 6 numbers here past the decimal point. Um, and sometimes you might want that level of accuracy, other times you might not. The formatted version, um, below the default format printed, is just giving us up to the seconds. So to format it that way, I can reference now, our variable, and call this string format time function and give it this set of codes um, to format the date time in the way that I want. So I've got the year dash month dash day, which is just the same as the default format. But when I get to the time part, I am specifying that I want the hour, the minute, and the seconds, and nothing else. So in the formatted to seconds print statement, I am only getting 14, 09, and 30, which exist in that default format, but it just truncates this dot and then those last 6 digits. Um, I'm going to show you in the textbook. This is chapter 17. There is a table of all the directives for specific words specifying the format that you want. So, no, I don't want to do that. I'm gonna keep that there. I'll just minimize. Um, so you see for year, it's a capital Y. If you use lowercase y, it gives it without the century, so it just gives the last two digits there. Um, and then so on and so forth. So in our example here, I'm not getting the name of the month or any like days of the week, but you could do that if you wanted to, depending on why you're formatting dates and if you're outputting it to a certain spot. Um, but yeah, this is just a handy dandy table of all of the different codes that you would use to format a date. Um, but from here, like, what if you want a more accurate or like more like granular time? Like what if you need to compare times based on milliseconds, for example? Like right here, if we're comparing two times just the second, like I could come down here and um let's say I want to say um at line 7 is going to be our variable. And I'm going to call the now function again. So on line 3, we assign the exact date time when this line is executed to our variable called now. And then that is encapsulated in the now variable, and then we can print and reference now even past technically the microsecond point in time that this was captured. So on line 7, I can call now again and get a updated time, which I'm going to do just a quick print statement of the default format. Second now. And oh, no, no, there at line 7. Okay. So I'm going to run this and I want to compare the default time printed at line 4 and the default time printed on line 8. So let's see. Okay. So the default format on line 4 is 1414 14 14th hour, 14th minute of the 57th second. And the microseconds are 83, 23, 54. And then after doing another print statement, we call the now function again, and then we print the value of uh, at line 7, which contains the date and time at that exact moment where line 7 is executed. The microseconds here, you can see the difference between the two nows that we've captured. See, um, so if you were doing a task that required that kind of accuracy um, in the difference between times, then you might want to keep the microsecond accuracy. But if you want to go kind of like for the middle range, not just seconds, but not microseconds, you could do milliseconds, which will truncate the last three digits here and just give you hours, minutes, seconds, and then dot one, two, three of those digits. Um, so to do that, we're going to use, I'm just going to do a quick copy and paste here so that I'm not writing this a million times. Um, and I'm going to comment those other uh, lines out because I don't want them anymore. Um, and I'm going to say formatted to milliseconds. So to format to milliseconds, I want to say dot, whoops, I accidentally somehow pressed the period twice. I want to say dot percent sign or modulo sign, whatever you call it, and lowercase f. So that if I didn't do, you know what, I'm going to show you what this looks like without doing the next step to make it milliseconds. So this, as is going to give us microseconds, which is basically what the default format is, but I'll show you. Yes. Default format 14, 17, 58, 435, 240, and formatted to microseconds with that extra dot percent %F. That gives us the same thing. But we're trying to get to milliseconds, right? So I'm just going to copy and paste that line, milliseconds. And I said that we're going to truncate the last three digits from this date time string. And to do that, I want to add a set of square brackets outside of the string format time parentheses, but inside the last closing parenthesis of the print function. And inside of those square brackets, I want to add a colon and a -3. And this is what is going to trim off those last three digits. So let's run that and verify that that is indeed what happens. And it is. So we're still using now for all of this. We got rid of that on line 7 thing. So we get now at line 3 at the exact time that this line is executed. And then we have a series of print statements that format that date time encapsulated in now in different ways. So we just print the default, format to the seconds, format to the microseconds, which is essentially the same as the default. It's not even essentially, it is the same as the default. And then milliseconds is just those last three digits of the microseconds or default version. It's those last three digits taken off. So that I guess there's one more thing that I want to mention. We have seen this before in previous code, but I want to mention that this truncation can be used with strings as well, or like names and other like words. So this is a string. The date time object is a string. So that is, you're truncating that, but you can also use this, for example, with a name. So if I print name and then print name, uh, oops, it's so hard for me. Okay. So if I print these, you'll see that it trims the last three letters of my name. So if you're having trouble kind of wrapping your head around the numbers way, like the numbers aspect of this application, um, just prove it to yourself that it works with a any old word, your name, and hopefully that'll kind of help you understand how it's taking off those last three digits. Um, and I think that's all I want to talk about for date time formatting. Next, I want to talk about scheduling and launching programs.